I know. Hold on. All right, Bill. Are you familiar with the Jawzrsize?
The Jawzrsize, no.
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to refresh the stream because
hold on. I'm gonna.
On my end. There it is.
I'm gonna send you. Oh, I need to share this with myself next time.
Oh, Steve thinks he knows it.
I'm gonna send you this link so that you can watch this, but you'll want to mute your side of things.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I hear it. Oh. It's thumping.
Uh-oh.
It does thump.
Bravo 6 going dark.
Blaine was I've seen this online before, and Blaine just keeps telling me that he keeps seeing it like
it's super
constantly.
Weird, and I see it everywhere. All right. And it's like this weird thing.
All right, we're gonna show a little video real quick.
It's a silicone chunk that these people chew.
Which one do you turn it on? Yeah, like
that
just looks so disturbing to me.
Your jaw.
I'm gonna do it while running down the beach.
And they keep it around their neck like a pacifier.
So that maybe when you get tired, you don't like hold on to it. Like, look at this guy! Dude, he looks like he's straining so hard. He's like, ow.
Oh, ow, oh.
You could use it at the gym. People be like, what's up with your mouth,
chew
bro?
It, like, I get it. Like, maybe you don't want to bite your tongue, but you need to bite down. People are working out at the beach. Hey, it's that same lady with the blue and yellow.
Oh, wow, running. If I saw someone doing that, like, anywhere, I would be like, aren't you embarrassed?
A well-defined jawline. That's what they promise.
I think it just it will help you achieve a younger, healthier appearance. But I love their before and after photos.
It looks like them, but angrier.
I feel like the string. I feel like the string is just like so they don't choke on it. You just like retrieve it through the string, like.
Anyway,
there's that.
So
hopefully, Bill, you got to watch some of that.
So
you see a woman running down the beach chewing on that. What do you say to her? Stop that.
That's disgusting.
So my question, and the reason I brought this specific item in was how many people, this kind of goes along with like an earlier question we had about like how many people ask you about like health questions in your everyday life. Mm-hmm. How many people bring you weird pop culture health advice where you're just like, what?
Like this is your trend.
Constantly. All the time. They're like, oh, you work in a hospital. Did you know that this treatment doesn't really do anything? And if you get some calamine lotion and put it under your eyelids, and then
it's
like, no.
I don't want to put anything under my eyelids.
Don't do that.
That sounds like the
I don't even remember what that was for.
Unless it's
anything under your eyes. Like, except if it's like drops.
Is it?
But I've had people. Yeah, I've had people literally be like, oh, if you rub this thing that's non-reactive onto your skin, we make fun of the people who are literally like, you rub crystals on your skin, you wave them around in the air, and then you blow on it. People actually like that exist. Like,
you're like, but
I always forget that. Like, a large part of my YouTube diet is making fun of conspiracy theory and like, flat Earth and like crystal water people. Earth. Like a large part of my YouTube diet is making fun of those types of people. But I always have to remember that there are actual people that believe that.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, people will believe a lot of stuff.
Some weird thing.
So, but do you also think Jawzrsize is a good option? Do you believe
Jawzrsizing is a good idea?
Should we all?
I mean, chewing on jerky will give you the same thing. You probably get a better reward out of it.
Jerky chew.
And it's delicious.
I want to know how much that rubber chunk is they're chewing on.
Yeah,
how many bags of jerky can I get for that?
It looks like the first time I saw it when they're like showing it off, when you're golfing, there's this weird little PVC ring that if you hit the ring, a clean hit will just make the ring spin and it just looks like a cylinder flying through the air. But if your swing is off at all, it'll kind of do a wobble to it. So you can kind of see what is your swing wobbling, or are you hitting things straight? And it looked like that piece. And I thought they were like chewy, like someone was just like, and just started like chewing on this like golf trainer. And I was like, what are these people doing?
Like, why would you grab that from the golfing green?
I could see if people need a fixation. Those are like the same people who chew on their neck of their shirt or something.
Yeah.
It's $35. That's a mouth guard.
Yeah.
Why don't, but like they were saying earlier in the chat, Mommy was like, oh, what about gum? You know, like I guess it's not as much resistance though.
I guess.
If you have the same double bubble and keep adding to it over time.
Or do you just need do you need resistance or do you need reps? What do you need for health?
Ooh, I think it's resistance.
Are you going for shape or are you going for tone?
Wow.
Tone.
Here we go.
There it is. We found it. We found it. We found it.
The Minnesota accent.
Yeah. We now know where Bill is from, roughly.
What?
Big Lee Chew.
You said tone.
The tone.
Tone.
Oh, tone.
Are you going for size or are you going for tone?
Tone.
It was like a different person was saying that word.
Katey, they're making fun of my Minnesota.
What kind of soda is it?
Mini soda.
Oh man, I've been waiting.
So when I worked at GameStop, we'd sometimes call stores in other locations just to get product shipment. Like if they weren't selling this product, we'd have to like ship it to us where it sells.
All right.
If I ever called the state that was like at least 2 states away, I'd turn on the Minnesota. I'd be like, oh, I see you got some Call of Duties out there. Could I get like a case of 60? That would be totally awesome.
Totally.
That's hilarious.
And they're like, yeah, that's kind of endearing. I like that accent.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I totally appreciate that.
Well, it's like Midwest and then Southern are thought of as like a more friendly accent.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like I forget what there's a weird map breakdown of like
different
a
sounds
survey
and
they
stuff.
did back in like the early 2000s that was like, what do you think about this voice? And so it was like, this voice sounds like a smart person. This voice sounds nice. This voice sounds mean. And so you have like a lot of it is super like stereotypical. Like New York just sounds mean,
aggressive.
Right? You get that northeast New England accent is a very aggressive accent, very angry accent. The Midwest and the Southern are very nice, pleasant people, like by accent wise.
Yeah, like calm and chill.
We're in the like I forget what it is.
We see
it was either apathetic or
passive aggressive.
I forget what it was. No, California was the passive aggressive.
Oh,
I remember that.
Yeah. I think intelligent makes sense. Yeah, because like we have like Microsoft and all the Amazon.
People just assume that these companies that make money are a part of the whole area or whatever.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun.
All right, along with our other medical trend, telehealth. Have you seen any of this?
Or like
telehealth?
Yeah.
Like virtual visits or something like that?
Doctors, virtual visits. And as someone who has to clean the room, is that something you're thinking of as like, okay, as people want to spend more and more time, like not in a hospital?
Yeah, not going there physically.
I mean, I had a checkup just a few days ago because I had to get a prescription filled that for some reason hasn't been filled. And so, they're doing the pre-screening questionnaire, you're going through it and then they're talking to you on the phone, the nurse, before you get to see your actual doctor. Mm-hmm. And they're like, do you have a way to check your own blood pressure? I was like, no, of course not. Who do you think I am? It's like, I'm okay, I guess, but
everyone should be able to check their blood pressure.
I mean, you can go to local Bartels.
Okay, but then you have to leave your house anyway, so what's the point?
Yeah. It's stuff like that people don't have access to that just kind of is funny to me. Like that question was just hilarious. But for like having questions for your doctor, like say you're seeing just a general practitioner, they look at your charts, they evaluate your situation, and you're like, oh, what medication should I do? Or this medication's bad, I need to switch to a different one. Those make sense. Where it's like, oh, I have this thing here, I need it looked at, and then they're getting up close to the camera and it just doesn't function the right way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, right. I can't see it physically, like the 3D model.
Your Wi-Fi is breaking up a bit, I think. It's getting a little pixelated.
Yeah, right? They're like,
can you increase your bit rate?
Yeah.
Here, call your, internet company first and then call us back,
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting for like very small things, but it's just not the same. Like you can't, I don't know. When you go to a doctor, I just feel like you have like that, like you have their undivided attention. They're like physically there and they can check everything properly. Whereas like if you're at home, it's like, what
He's got
can
another
you really
tab
do?
open. You know that doctor has another tab open.
Depending on the kind of doctor you have, I guess.
It was like, yep, all right.
They're gonna Google at WebMD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's check out WebMD real quick.
Yeah.
Looks like it could be
WebMD
cancer.
says you're dying.
Yeah. So come to the
Worst case scenario.
Right.
Yeah. So
I wonder how many doctors or practitioners, when they like answer the Zoom calls, it's just like the point of view is like the person from like down here doing the thing.
Just the underchin straight up.
Yeah.
Well,
like, how you doing?
You can lose some weight.
wait. Have you weighed yourself recently?
Yeah.
I had a weird one. What kind of perks have you made use of with your job? Because like
with my job,
yeah, like being in a hospital, right? Like you've got access to things and people, and where like somebody who were like, let's say someone just goes to the ER, they then have to talk to a doctor, and that costs $1,500. You're in the room and in the lobbies with these people. Have you ever made use of that in a way that was
like as a patient or as somebody observing a situation?
As a coworker in the break room, like, hey doc, like I'm running into this, like
something like that.
We talked about how like other people bring you medical things, but have you ever made use of the fact that you're around these experts on a daily basis?
See, the thing is, working around a lot of medical experts, I can't really say this for like larger places like the Mayo Clinic down in Rochester, because that's just huge and there's so much staff. But for small towns like ours, everyone knows each other, and the doctors know who you are by name, by how you look and how you act and how you walk. If they notice something's wrong, they'll be like, hey, are you feeling all right? It's just like it's offered to you first, usually. And, they probably won't notice if you're like, have a sickness going on that you're not exuding symptoms. It's until you actually feel something or have a sickness or something.
Yeah.
Like
they wouldn't know about your hemorrhoids, for example, but
no, not unless you're grumpy.
Walking all funny.
Oh, is it hemorrhoid day, Bill?
I hate this.
But it's really nice that they have like kind of a familial aspect, because you have that benefit of being in a small town. Maybe they know you more on a personal level, right? Because they can be like, oh, I know Bill or other, employees and whatever. Like, I know how they normally act. This isn't them. Like, let me help them. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah. No, we've just got a really cool community aside from that. Like, our hospital is small enough where, like I said, everyone knows each other, but we also support each other in certain ways. For personal reasons, I had to take a huge chunk of work off. And my coworkers got together and paid my rent for me. That was like the coolest thing I've ever had happen. Like, my boss drives by and he's like, here's a receipt for your rent. We all paid for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to cry in front of my boss, but I'm about to.
I would.
Dude, when your boss shows up with rent paid for, you get a card to say you're allowed to cry. Like that's
that's really
insane.
Sweet. That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Even outside of like a medical industry or anything like that.
Yeah,
that goes kind of above me. I'm just trying to show that like you're in that sort of situation. I
love that.
Do you ever visit larger hospitals and see the way that they act and think like, oh, you know what, this is kind of cool and all that they're big, but like the fact that I've got this small hospital feel is like like worth it 1,000 times over, or kind of
there is definitely a community difference, just how the culture is at certain hospitals, not only by size but also by location. I'm going to lose people here by mentioning towns, but in Bemidji, which is like an hour away, it's like a medium-sized hospital. So, and they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's not a hospital for like 2 hours in any direction.
Okay.
So those are the most stressed out people you ever meet, because the ER people are used to putting up with like a lot of, results of violence. We live in a mixed race community. Unfortunately, there is tension that comes in through there. And so like everyone in the ER just kind of has this front on that they're like just straight faced. And, whereas like if you come into small town where I am, oh, we haven't had a patient in like a day. You're here. I'm happy you're here, but you're hurt. Okay, let's take care of you.
Oh, that's so nice.
But then like you go to St. Cloud, which is like 2 hours away. It's like the exact middle of Minnesota almost. And that's a large place. It's not the largest, but it is pretty large. And you've got every culture from, it's a big college town. You got St. Cloud University there. So we have a lot of international students. And so just the way people approach healthcare even affects the way that they have to operate. So say like, I don't want to sound insensitive, so I just won't point out races. I'll just point out things I've noticed as kind of norms. Say if in this one culture, the wife is hurt, the husband will have to take her in and speak on her behalf. And so as an employee, parts of that training were actually being trained on recognizing the culture of the patient and who I am allowed to talk to. And so, and like even then, so there could even be a language barrier. We have a lot of Korean students who speak English to a degree, but there are things that get lost in the English to second language English translations, and so you have to be very, very specific. And so everyone there is just very professional. So you've got from where I am to the small town to the really, home caring attitude to the high stress of like the middle of nowhere hospital, to the big city where everyone has like all this training just because of the cultures they're just super, super professional about everything.
Right. That's like a whole nother level of stress. Like even just communicating with not in a high tense situation. Yeah. Like even at a restaurant for me, like sometimes it can be difficult to communicate with, like I'm communicating to the daughter, to the parents, trying to get things out, and it takes like, way longer to do it. But like to have it in those high tense emergency situations, everyone's already racing high and then you can't communicate properly. It's really hard.
Yeah. And even when I was at in a frontline sales job, I had a client that was a good client, came back multiple times, him and his wife, and he was like super Orthodox Jewish. And I didn't know that like in Orthodox Judaism, the wife is like not allowed to do a lot. Like she came in to like buy a gun and all that. And so I was like trying to talk to her and stuff. But when I finished and closed the sale, and I was like, "Hey, thank you, sir," because he was doing a lot of talking. But I'm used to that in that position where like you go to a gun shop, a lot of the times the guy is like leading the conversation. He's like, "I'm a gun guy. I'm a gun man," and all that. And then like at the end, like closing the deal and going to shake his hand, going to shake her hand, and he was like, "If you shake her hand, I'll have to break you." And I was like, yeah, A, you're not gonna, but B, that's a weird thing. Tell me about this. And finding out that like that is a huge no in that culture. And so like,
there's a lot of nuances in all these different cultures. Like I can't even imagine like how to keep that all straight.
Well, and it's so weird to think about in like a simple context from it. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I won't, we're still clients. Like, you're my client. I'm going to help you out. But like, if you're in a medical situation where it's like, we need to do this now.
Yeah. Like, I don't care if I can't.
You're having to go through somebody else. Yeah. And you're having to go through somebody else in order to like communicate that like that. that kind of
asinine to me.
Well, it just makes so many of those little like interactions that I've had over the years with different people and different types. Just such a, what do you do then? What do you do here? What do you do there? And like you're able to see that from the position of like the ultimate, like, oh, this could, like, for example, is a life or death. You're in emergency for a reason. Like,
yeah, like, let's work
not everybody
together.
goes to emergency for the same reason Blaine goes to emergency, where he's like, he gets elbowed in basketball in middle school and has like a big gash on his inner cheek, and he's like, yeah, I need stitches. And they're like, well, you could sit and wait. And like the hospital near us here is like fairly high as far as like violent drug crimes go. And
That's
so
true.
I sat and waited for like 4 hours and was like, yeah, I'll suck it up and just deal with it. It's in my mouth. It's not like it's gonna make a scar that's too bad. And so I just like went home and like mashed some gauze in it, you know. But like, I wasn't in a situation where I needed help. So needing help and then also having to deal with either societal or other, you know, different sort of people. Like that's a rough way to kind of think.